Hey guys, so the past week and then 2 weeks before that, but like a while before that, I was at camp as a camp counselor or cabin leader, we call it now. And I just want to share a little bit about what that was like, take a few minutes to talk about my experiences there. All of this took place at Fairmount Campgrounds, amazing camp. I grew up going there, so it's got a really, really special place in my heart, but I want to just talk about what life was like as a camp counselor or cabin leader, actually. So the first camp that I was at was junior high camp, so that is grades 6 through 8, going into 6th and leaving 8th, I believe, or going into 8th. You can do either. Anyway, so first of all, shout out to my cousin Jen. She was the speaker there at that camp. She did an incredible job. Love her. And through what God spoke through her, so many junior hires were changed. It was incredible to watch that, seeing them go up to the altar, seeing them worship was so cool. Some of the girls in my dorm were actually able to finally understand that they could let fears go. They were able to realize for the first time that they could trust God to get them through every situation, no matter how difficult it was, no matter how hard it was. He was able to get them through everything. They were able to start finally letting God take over their fears rather than their fears taking over their lives, which was really cool. And Jen and I also had the opportunity to sit down and talk for a little bit while we were there, which was so cool because we don't get to do that very often. We don't get to see each other very often at all. So just being able to sit down and talk to her was incredible. And through our conversation, God really started to speak to me, started to talk to me about my own fears, things that I hadn't let go of, things that I hadn't even really allowed myself to think about at times. So junior high camp was huge for me and huge for the junior hires that were there. So the next week was senior high camp. So this is grades 9th through 12th. You can go all the way up to the year after you finish your senior year of high school, which is really cool. Another shout out, this time to Amanda and Johnny Blair, who were the incredible speakers for senior high week. They did an incredible job speaking about what it means to fear less. And the high schoolers spent the week full out worshiping. I mean, full out worshiping without fear of judgment. It was really cool. And they spent the week learning how to trust God, learning how to let go of fears in their lives. Even the counselors were learning that as well, cabin leaders, were learning that as well, which was an incredible experience. But God also continued his conversation with me that week. The first thing God really pushed me to let go of was my fear of rejection and the thoughts that enter my mind when I feel rejected. I went through a breakup that week. So for me, my first instinct was to run, to push away the person who was rejecting me, and to ask myself what I did to beat myself up, because rejection has been extremely common in my life, and Satan loves to push me into thinking that every rejection has been, is, and will be because of something that I did. But the next day, after prayer for peace and the ability to continue to minister to my campers, after having a couple people pray over me and pray for me as well, God really allowed me to feel his love in a way that I had never felt before in my life, which was absolutely incredible. I know I keep using that word a lot, but I really like that word, and it's the only word that I can really think to use for that situation. But at the end of the week, God brought my ex and I together, and we talked, and we were able to realize that even though dating was not in the plan, we could still be great friends and still support each other and love each other as friends, as pretty much siblings we might as well be. And so that meant that the rejection that I thought was there actually wasn't. And God showed me that I don't have to be afraid of that rejection. even if I am being rejected, I can run to Him, letting Him take care of my issues, my problems, my fears, those thoughts, rather than running away from all of it and pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back like I've always done pretty much my entire life. God also brought me to a place of wanting to pursue what He wants me to do in the future. I've had a fear of failure practically my whole life, and that fear has quite often kept me from pursuing what could be something great, because what if I fail? What will happen then? Will people reject me if I fail? Here comes that fear of rejection again. It all kind of runs together, you know? But this time I felt such a peace about it. A peace about stepping forward. Those two words have been huge in my life. God's really been speaking those words into my life a lot. Step forward. But I felt such a peace about stepping forward that I was able to do so without hesitating by the end of the week, which is not something that happens very often at all. So to see God working in me through that week was, again, incredible. Can't think of another word to use for that, just incredible. Then a couple weeks later, which would have been last week, came the last week of camp, which was kids camp, which is kids from 1st through 5th grades. The theme was Fortress Royale, which is kind of like a Fortnite theme. But the fortress is God's love. So the kids spent that week learning about God's love and what it looks like. You know, at the beginning of the week, the kids were, you know, they would go up to the front when the worship team would come up and play these fun songs, whatever. They would kind of dance to the music, but you could tell that they weren't comfortable with fully worshiping. They didn't really know how to, and they weren't sure that they could do that. But part of our jobs as cabin leaders was to show them that they could jump into worship. They could worship fully, and they could worship fully without people judging them. And we showed them that by letting God work through our actions. So us going up there to the front and worshiping God fully and letting these kids see us do that and see, oh, I guess it is possible to worship, isn't it? And so by the end of the week, these kids were worshiping so hard, and it was so cool to see, guys. I mean, they were realizing that God loved them. They were realizing that because God loved them, they needed to love others. We had one girl in our group who told people that, hey, no, I've been mean. I haven't been loving others. She realized that, and she realized that she could, which was, so cool. I love seeing God work like that. So yeah, that camp was incredible to see. Again, the word incredible, I know, whatever. Anyway, so I want to tell you guys some of the things that I learned at these camps. So first of all, you are never too young, ever, ever, ever too young for God to work in your life and to move in your life. I saw 1st graders going up to the altar for prayer. You're never, ever too young. Second of all, you are never too old. You are never too high up. You are never in too high of a position or too much in charge to go to the altar. I saw speakers at camp go to the altar. These are ordained ministers, guys. Speakers at camp going to the altar, and the campers literally surrounding them, praying for them. Guys, I felt freedom in being able to admit that, yeah, I'm hurting. I've got fears, I've got failures, I've got all this stuff that I'm trying to work through, that I'm trying to figure out in front of the campers. And we should never let pride tell us that we have or have to have everything together in front of other people. It doesn't matter if you hold a position in the church, It doesn't matter if you're leading something. It doesn't matter if you feel like you're too old or too mature. It doesn't matter. We cannot let pride get in the way of us going to God, dropping on our knees in front of the altar, in front of everybody else. Because when we let others see our brokenness and see that God can work in us, but also seeing that it's okay to be hurting, it gives them the freedom to do that too. Guys, that's what has happened to me. I've seen people go up to the altar who I respect, who I hold very high, see them go to the altar hurting and broken, and I realize it's okay for me to hurt. We need to do the same for others, guys. And third of all, don't be afraid to let go of the things that you're holding on to. Our hurts, our fears, our anxieties, the things that we hold on to like a cactus, they become our security blanket, which sounds so weird, but it's so true. Without them, we don't know who we are. Without them, we feel exposed because they've become what we protect ourselves with. But when we finally let go and we throw them off, we begin to see the person that God created us to be. And that person is beautiful or handsome, I guess, in guys' cases. That person is loved so dearly by God, more than you could ever imagine, more than any of us could ever imagine or even try to imagine. We are so loved by God. And we are safe in His hands. That person is the person who's been hidden for far, far too long. And so, let the little children run to God and help them do it. Don't be too afraid or too prideful to go to the altar, whether that means an actual altar or just saying, guys, I'm hurting in front of people. Show them that you're hurting, because that allows others to do the same. And throw off your fears, throw off your anxieties, your hurts, the things that are unhealthy, the things that hurt us when we hold on to them like a cactus. Everything that is pulling you away from God, throw it off. Stop trying to protect yourself and let God be the one to protect you. Let Him keep you safe in His arms, like He promises that He will do. I hope this speaks to you as much as God spoke to me over these few weeks, and I hope to see you next week. Bye, guys.